Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hear Me Out Pitch. I am Tim,
And I'm Willem.
and we got an interesting episode today. Yeah, not gonna lie. By the end of the movie, I was like, that's 2 hours that I'm never getting back.
So bad. It was so bad. It was
It's not Babylon AD bad,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it was bad.
It was bad. I think I would rather. I don't know. I don't know which one I'd rather watch first, Babylon or this movie. I could not.
Of the two, I'd rather watch this one.
But
that's because Babylon AD was hot garbage.
Such hot garbage.
It was the hottest of the garbage.
So hot.
I do like that I got to see one of my favorite actors in this movie, though. For a very, very, very brief amount of time he was in it, but, you know.
Is Bill Murray one of your favorite?
Bill Murray is I love Bill Murray.
Really?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite Bill Murray movie?
What About Bob?
It's in my freaking library.
What About Bob is one of my... It's not my top 10, but it's probably in my top, 50.
Groundhog's Day.
Groundhog Day that's another good one.
It's such a good one.
And you can never go wrong with Ghostbusters.
Well, of course.
The original two. Everything after the original two is...
I've heard this newest one is amazing. So I need to watch it.
I don't know. I hesitate to watch. Anyway. Yes. I did like to see Bill Murray in this movie. That was nice.
Okay.
He's old.
He is.
He appeared and I was like, no freaking way. He's old.
He is old.
He's getting old. And it makes me sad to see such a great actor getting old, getting into his years. And
well, I'm glad you appreciate me, so it's all good.
Yep. Yeah. I think to start us off, what makes a sequel good? Before we even announce what movie we're doing. I mean, if you clicked on the episode, you know what movie we're doing, but before we announce the title, what makes a sequel to a movie good?
So when you say sequel, does that include...
That's a second movie,
a
third movie, a fourth movie, a sixth movie, an eighth movie. Fast and Furious, I'm talking to you.
Oh, gosh.
Not touching any of those.
No, because I don't know cars very well, and
Nope.
It's just not in my forte.
I don't need to see Vin Diesel talk about family, and I don't need to see people do ridiculously stupid things to
The first one
cars,
is not bad. I recommend that one.
I've been told the first, the second, and the fifth one are okay.
If you were to watch any of them, at least watch the first once and just be like, cool.
I've seen the first one. It's been a million years. It's been a long time.
Jeez, dinosaurs.
I know. Way back when Vin Diesel was young.
He just got done being the Iron Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a couple years, probably just saved Private Ryan and all that stuff. So, and I realize I still have these on, and no wonder I'm like, why am I talking so slow? I've gotten a lot better. I survived a long time with those on.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I noticed.
I know.
But I wasn't gonna.
I was
say
actually able
anything.
to adjust some things with the sound, so it was all good. I was like, oh yeah, and then I was like, wait a minute, I can hear my thoughts. I mean, I can hear my whatever.
Yeah.
What makes a good sequel? So I'm looking, I can see my movies here, a majority of them. Looking at movies from when I was younger, I can see Toy Story 1 and 2. I can see Kung Fu Panda 2. I can see Lord of the Rings, but that's more of a series, not really like sequels, if that makes sense. It's like one big story when it comes to that.
Yep, that's exactly how I would classify it.
But a sequel, because, so going back to Lord of the Rings, is that it literally is bringing upon this. But for movies like Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, Kung Fu Panda 2. They finish and you're like, oh, that could be the end. And then you're surprised with another. Thor comes in, slams his bottle on the ground, and you want another. And they should have stopped with number 3, but that's just, what, we're not here to talk about that. Okay, Thor.
That was last season.
Thor, you get 3 and that's it. Maybe you'll get a 5 if it's not.
Everybody else got 3. Why does Thor get 4?
Well, because it rhymed with his name, so it's fine. And I can go. Oh, it's so triggering. So I think a good sequel is that it does better than it tells a story that all the characters from the first grow upon. If you look at the second Toy Story movie, Buzz and Woody have both changed, but one of them is going to grow again. Woody, the first Toy Story movie is probably along with the fourth is now my least favorite, but I still like it. Actually, no, I don't know. But anyway, the first Toy Story, Woody was a villain. He was the main antagonist. People are like, oh, it's Sid. No,
it was Woody.
It was Woody. He's the main antagonist.
I mean, Sid was an antagonist.
Yeah, he was a antagonist. He was the
louder antagonist.
Yes, he was the force at the end of like, oh, this might happen, but he is what causes the main antagonist. And honestly, Buzz Lightyear's kind of a protagonist, except anyway. Point being, the growth of Woody and Buzz in the second movie is awesome. Yeah. Buzz literally fighting his old self, his old way of thinking was amazing. Woody going, oh, I could be appreciated more as a novelty and be just so well known, but instead he goes, my boy needs me at home. So I think that if I look at Kung Fu Panda 2, it's just we're going to see growth in the character.
Yeah.
We're going to see them fight something new, and we're not going to see them degrade. That's why, honestly, Thor Love and Thunder to me didn't really feel like anything. It felt so bland. It felt
disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we had the same characters, but it wasn't
the same.
It wasn't connected to anything else. I'm of a similar opinion. So I was just telling Willem this. I finished Jedi Survivor this week, right? I played over the last month and a half or so. I've played through all of Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
That's a Star Wars video game. It's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
Fantabulous.
Jedi Fallen Order is an amazing Star Wars story. It's beautiful. It is one of the most well put together stories in video game history.
It is probably one of the top 5 things that Star Wars has put out this past decade.
Yeah.
I think
maybe top 5 ever.
Really?
I
will give that
much.
to you. You're the bigger Star Wars fan.
I love it that much because it builds on. It takes episodes 4, 5, and 6, right, and everything we learn about Darth Vader and about the Emperor and about the Empire, and it gives us a story that comes before that. All of that happens, and it slides it in perfectly. Same with Jedi Survivor. In Jedi Fallen Order, right, you go through the story, you beat the story, you meet Darth Vader, and scares the crap out of you, and you have the end of the story, and then Jedi Survivor begins a few years after that, and instead of, I'm gonna call it the Tears of the Kingdom effect. Instead of giving you the exact same game, the exact same start to a game, Breath of the Wild, you started out on an island, you had 4 shrines you had to beat, you started at 3 hearts, you had to work your way back up. Tears of the Kingdom, it was the exact same thing, and you got similar abilities and everything, and it wasn't the same, but it was the same vibe. And it honestly felt a little bit... I was let down a bit because of that. Jedi Survivor did not do that. Jedi Survivor, perfect sequel. It took all of the abilities that you learned in the first game, every single one. The lightsaber throw, you get that a ways down the road in Jedi Fallen Order. The customizable lightsaber colors, you get that later. You get that almost toward the end of the game in Fallen Order. You have that right off the bat in Jedi Survivor.
No, it was very clever to like, and it's just good narration. You just get to see him, and you get to see their growth. And I love that in the sequel, it isn't right where it's left off. It gives us questions that we, the audience, have. It's okay to have things that we don't get to know. Like, because at the beginning, he's with this group of people. We know them briefly, and then stuff happens, but it's just to be like, who are these guys? What's their story? Well, you can look up the lore later on or do your own research. It's fine. It's okay that it felt more organic that they had their own adventures.
Yeah. It felt, it almost made it seem like they were real people.
Yeah.
Instead of, code, numbers. And that's the thing I want to hit on right now is to make a good sequel, you have to like you said, you have to hit on what you've already experienced, and you have to expand it. You have to build. You can't just do what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did, have a beautiful story, end it, and then start over with the same character in the same world. You just start at level 1 again.
What's the point of building upon the foundation if you're not going to build up?
Exactly. And I feel like that's something we lacked in this movie.
Which is crazy because the second one was, I really enjoyed the second one.
Yeah. The second one was fantastic.
Loved it. And it was great because it was right after Endgame. And we're like, oh, this is kind of, we get some levity. But then at the end, it's like, oh, it's all connecting. Mm-hmm. And probably this is literally the second Ant-Man movie. We'll spoil it now. The second Ant-Man movie was probably the last. No. The last good standalone film so far is Shang-Chi. I haven't really.
Yep.
Standalone. Because you can't count the newest Spider-Man movie as standalone because it was really a mosh podge of everything. You could maybe count it as a standalone, but I'll give it like. We had a bunch of. It was Into the Spider-Verse live action.
It's the third Spider-Man movie. It's the third of Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies.
I would argue, and the thing is, we could get another trilogy with him, and I wouldn't argue because that was basically Spider-Man's origin. That's his real origin.
Yeah, that was the first movie. His first 3 movies were his first movie.
Yeah, or they're even just like a prequel. They're really talking, and I know Tom Holland might be tired.
He even said like he's ready to take the cape off and live a normal life, have a family and stuff. But
if they got a new actor, I'd be fine with it because no one remembers what he looks like in their universe. So
yeah,
I'll forgive him for it. It would be
other people won't, but
I know. I don't know. So, but Ant-Man number 3, Quantumania, which I was ecstatic for, Tim. I was so excited, and I even went and saw it opening day alone.
I actually heard people talking about it before the movie came out. I heard people talking about how it's not going to live up to the other stories. I have a few friends. They're big movie buffs, big Marvel buffs. They love Marvel movies. And they were talking about it, and they were like, "Yeah, I don't think this movie's gonna hit it on the head like the other two." And they were right. It sucked. Honestly, this is one of the worst Marvel movies.
I think it was rated it's the lowest rated one.
Mm-hmm.
Except the Marvels might just to beat it.
I think Marvel's is worse. I
don't know. I need to watch it. I'll watch it.
But yeah, I'll watch it once.
And to be clear, I just want to say I was really excited about Jonathan Majors being Kang. I was excited for that character.
I will say he did a good job.
He did a good job. And he was found guilty and he got fired. I'm glad this wasn't like a Johnny Depp thing where they fired him before. I'm glad that they went through the trial, found him guilty, and then was fired. And now hearing about new developments, I don't know what's going to happen, and we'll just leave it at that. We will now talk about him being Kang and his character and story. We're not here to talk about the actors, even though some of them didn't.
We don't need... I will talk about some of the acting, but not the actors themselves. Because the actors, all of the actors played their role. Mm-hmm. And I will say they played their role well. It's just some of the things were a little bit weird. I hated MODOK. They
ruined MODOK. But I was really unhappy.
We'll talk about that.
He could have been done. Just why did it have to be a joke?
I don't know.
We've already mentioned this, and I mentioned it, but many people agree that because of the success of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie and James Gunn's way of spinning humor, that was when Marvel changed. I kind of failed doing my homework. I watched little bits and pieces, but Tim, I really did not want to watch this movie again.
I watched it this morning, and I honestly turned it off before the end credit scenes because I did not want to watch anymore.
I know.
So I had to watch the post credit scenes probably about an hour ago. It was like right before I came up here to record. I got onto YouTube and I was like, okay, I need to watch this.
Let me see them
because they might actually explain some of the questions that I had, and they didn't.
They just gave you more.
They gave me more questions, and they made me really upset about one particular thing that we'll talk about later. We'll talk about Loki in a while today.
I need to watch season 2, but
I haven't watched any of it.
Backtracking, tiny bit. I did not do my homework, like I said, because I really was thinking about it. But then a guiding voice at the gym, i.e. the movie they were watching at the gym for their little exercise room, it was Captain America, the First Avenger.
That is my favorite Marvel movie of all time.
Really?
Captain America, the First Avenger is my favorite Marvel movie.
Is it because you're a tiny dude?
Maybe.
Dude, I think honestly, it really does. It makes me feel,
it makes me feel good about myself.
Strong things can come from tiny packages. It's just a good, anyway, but watch that. And the CGI nowadays, it's kind of like some scenes I was like, that looks funny. But why does that movie, 12 years old this year, why is that so good? No, sorry, 13 years, I think, 2011. Yeah. Why does that one still hold up? Yeah, 2011. Why does that one still hold up? Why did I enjoy watching a 13-year-old movie more than this one?
Because it was serious when it needed to be, and it was funny sometimes. They threw in here to break it up, just enough. They had a balance.
Because it felt natural.
It felt natural.
You know the part when he's jumping on the Red Skull's plane and Tommy Lee Jones, like him and Peggy kiss the first time, which I was like, oh my gosh, that was their first kiss, and that's their only kiss until then. Anyway, but and then he looks at Tommy Lee Jones like for words of affirmation or something before he jumps off, and Tommy Lee Jones just goes, I ain't gonna kiss you. And you're like, that's funny, because honestly, that's what Tommy Lee Jones would do. That's what his characters do. That's what that character would have done. And it felt natural. And then immediately got into but it was like break the tension sort of thing.
Yeah.
Felt natural. Here it was like there is no tension and it's all humor. Spoilers, MODOK's death was probably the worst
That
thing.
was my least favorite part about this
movie. I was
movie.
dying. I was like,
I was stupid.
Squirming. I was staring at the floor of the movie theater.
I'll admit, I rewinded it because I was on my phone while I was watching this terrible movie. And I rewinded it to the beginning of his death when he's doing stuff. And it's like, it was anticlimactic. The acting was kind of stupid.
Yep.
The CGI for MODOK was garbage. And MODOK himself, just the way that James Gunn did MODOK was garbage. It sucked.
I don't think this one was James Gunn.
So mad.
Let me see.
Or maybe not James Gunn.
Was
it Kevin Feige?
No. The director of this one was I don't know, but
whoever it was, they did.
If it would have been James Gunn, this movie would have been great.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whoever directed it, they did MODOK dirty.
They
MODOK, growing up, right? I watched. I'll level down to a child's level for a moment. I watched Phineas and Ferb as a kid, right? As a lot of us did, and Phineas and Ferb being owned by Disney, and after Marvel was bought by Disney, they had like a little Phineas and Ferb 2-part episode with the Avengers, and MODOK was in it, and he was a villain. He was a cool villain. He felt like a villain. MODOK in this movie felt like a henchman. He didn't feel like a villain. He felt like a henchman, and a really crappy henchman too. Like
it was a waste of a good character.
Yes, it was. And oh my gosh,
I can't believe I'm reading all these positive reviews of this movie because I'm just I'm so shocked of who gave it like a. Maybe are we just being bigoted?
Maybe.
There's more 5-star reviews on this thing than 1, and I'm just like, really? Wow. Maybe we're just being not bigoted, prejudice.
Yeah, I hated this movie.
I really had no. I just felt like it was. There were good highlights. I think whenever Kang was on screen, I was like, "This is good. I like this part. Yeah. This is okay. Great villain."
Kang is a scary villain.
Yes,
he is terrifying, and that's what makes him a good villain. I'm listening to the Critical Role podcast right now, their first campaign, and just listening to how Matt Mercer portrays Vecna, the big bad at the end of everything. Terrifying.
I thought that was Stranger Things. Just kidding. I'll fight
Vecna was in Critical Role, was in Dungeons and Dragons, period, long before Stranger Things came along. I will fight anybody who says otherwise.
I know. I love how they take they take.
I think it's fun.
Good.
I like that Stranger Things takes Dungeons and Dragons and utilizes it, but anyway, that's not what I'm talking about.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Matt Mercer takes elements of Vecna and scares the crap out of his players with it. He jump scares them. He throws in terrifying minions. An earlier big boss in the campaign, when they were lower level, is just a henchman to Vecna, and it's terrifying. And Kang the Conqueror is very similar. He's we see a little bit more of him in Guardians 3, and that was an amazing movie. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Kang the Conqueror. He's the big bad guy.
No, that was the oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Those are 2 different guys.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. And not trying to.
They're the same person, different realities.
Different actors. They are. He really is. I promise. Just because yes, I do. Just because a lot of people confuse. Now I can't think of his name. Not the grand creator. Who I loved him, and I really did. And people are honestly saying that if Jonathan Majors can't do this anymore, they're like somehow make him one of the variants. And
I thought he was one of the variants
because he's that scary. But the grand. I can't think of his name right now because I'm so like, oh crap. No, they are 2 different characters, but they both did a great job. I'm sorry, okay. I didn't mean to burst your bubble.
I genuinely thought they were the same.
No, Kang would not have been, because that's the.
Because they dress similar and they have similar powers.
Yeah, they do. But he is okay. The thing is, how you mentioned how. That lower villain was a henchman.
Yeah.
I need to, one sec. he would be a henchman of Kang. If that makes you, I really don't think people need to understand how bad they nerfed him in this movie.
Yeah, that's okay. That is something that bothered me.
Ant-Man should not have lived if he really went one-on-one.
No.
Maybe if Hope did get a surprise attack, if they would have written a surprise attack better, maybe. But honestly, they never should have gotten into the Quantumanium. They should have done. This is the worst Tron remake I've ever seen.
This movie should not have existed.
No,
period.
It didn't.
That is all I have to say about it. This movie, there's one big plot. Like, okay, I understand that Janet did not want to talk about the things she had to deal with in the quantum realm, but I feel like she would have warned them, do not try anything, do not try to look into it further. It is dangerous. There are things down there that could destroy the universe. Kind of thing. Like Kang the Conqueror, she saw into his mind. That was way too fast. We should have been able to see a lot more of what he was actually doing. Like we saw the Iron Man scene, right, where he's using his pulse blaster hand thingy wiping out people, but that was very brief. You blink and you miss it. And a lot of the stuff, all you hear is screaming.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see more of his conquest. Because that's what it was. His mission was conquest. To conquer the universe. To conquer time itself.
Yeah. And the thing is, they should have had no, like... And the ants.
That bothered me too.
Talk about a saving grace. It was so
It was in Lord of the Rings, right? At Helm's Deep, when Gandalf rides over the ridge with the Rohirrim and saves the day. That's well written. This was the ants was the crappiest version of that.
I thought the idea was
Deus Ex
cool.
Machina kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought the idea was cool, but it should have been like, it should have been a stronger fight. They should have been there near the beginning. I don't even know. They should have
been there from very, very near the beginning. It was so scripted. The entire movie was too scripted.
It was so like, I will admit, I didn't like the actress they picked for the daughter. I liked the girl they had in Endgame. It just felt weird to be like, whoa, they have someone complete. I don't know, maybe.
I mean, she's a good actress.
She was great.
She did a good job. It did bother me that it was a different person, though.
His name is High Evolutionary, and that's one of his first major movies. Different characters, but he was scary. He was cool, but he is not, just like your analogy with the Vox Machina. He's here, which he's still pretty scary, but he's
an Avengers level threat.
Yes, but
Kang the Conqueror is beyond.
Kang the Conqueror would make Thanos go, oh, which so bugs me that he just got nerfed. He has, because you see, he was introduced in Loki. Don't mean to spoil. Spoilers for anyone, but he's introduced in a way. You meet Jonathan Majors in a way. And the warning you are given for Kang, you are given a warning in Loki. He is coming. That is the point near the end. Something is coming. And I don't think you understand how much I love Kang the Conqueror, how much I was excited. When I first saw him in Loki, I went, and it wasn't technically Kang, but just something different. And to have this warning, and then for Jonathan Majors just to kill it. To make the scenes go serious. To make Paul Rudd actually act. To make his daughter terrified. That was when I was like, no jokes. No more laughing. Like, this is like a dark side type thing. I'm sorry for anyone who's DC and loves Marvel. Darkseid would wipe the floor with Thanos.
Oh, easily.
Kang the Conqueror, that would be scary. Darkseid is terrifying, and Kang to me is terrifying. I don't know who I'd want to deal with. I think I'd rather talk with Kang because at least we would be closer in eye level. Darkseid makes Superman nervous.
He's
So
Darkseid is bigger than Hulk.
he could probably squish Hulk's head in his hand.
Yeah.
He's terrifying. He really, I don't know. That's not true. I don't know. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but Kang and Darkseid to me are like these threats that are like, no. So, the crappy bad guy that they had in the Justice League movie, that's more like high evolutionary kind of level.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking they ruined Kang. And if I would have done this movie, he would have been a background, probably. He would have been someone just standing high above. You never see him until the end, and they barely make it out alive, if anything. Or Kang allows them to leave as a warning.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man, like the end of the movie is literally Ant-Man or Hope, because Scott's gone. I was not going to have a happy ending if they really wanted to commit to Kang.
If they were really going to commit to Kang, I would not have had him fight Kang.
Do you know the line where he says, "Are you an Avenger?" Yeah. Have I killed you before? I was like, that is Kang. Literally, I have seen times and times again. He is so old, we cannot comprehend. His chair, which again, that chair is... Anyway.
Yeah.
He's the type of character that DC goes, write that down, and they made a bunch of characters. I actually want to look that up, because there are a few. Yeah, it's what Kang is in Marvel, Darkseid, all those gods, the Elder God type people. That is what he is, and it's just like Ant-Man was able to just get away because of ants.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. So here's an issue that I had with Kang is I didn't understand who he actually was. I know who he is from outside sources, right? I understand the comics side of Kang the Conqueror, how he makes the Eternals squirm.
Yeah.
Right. He makes Celestials.
Getting there, yes.
Like he worries the Celestials more than anybody else.
He would, yeah, he really would, because he's so originally he is from way distant future. He's actually a descendant of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just far descendant, genius, a conqueror. And what they were doing here is he was the strongest variant of this character, of this one character that they have. He was just supposed to be the conquering variant of the multiverse. He has conquered multiple universes, travels to multiple universes,
destroys multiple universes,
destroys them, holds them, wields them, doesn't matter. He's insane. He conquers. Alexander the Great's got nothing on him. Like, he is the Alexander the Great of multiverses. Just, I am going to go. And then he gets banished by his variants, which was cool. Marvel's just not doing a good job tying their stuff together, Tim.
They don't explain.
No.
So the first of the end credit scenes, there's the Council of Kang, which I thought was a really cool concept.
Too many Kangs.
There was too many of them because they would have killed each other for sure. And too many of them were acting insane. Like,
too excited.
And it was like that doesn't seem like the type of character that he would be.
Honestly, if we should have just had like 5, that would have been it.
Maybe a few more.
I think
like
5 or 10.
I'm thinking
5 to 10.
I'm thinking like a round table type of deal, and there's 10 of them, and maybe a handful that aren't on the council that act as enforcers.
And we could have had different actors. We could have had different genders. We could have had so many things, and it would have been terrifying. And you know what would have been even more crazy? Is if at the end they're like, is he gone? And then we hear boots, and it's him walking into the room, and he sits down where he's supposed to be, and they're like, crap. And he goes, now, Time for like just the Secret Wars to begin. Like I don't know what Marvel's doing. And Multiverse of Madness is going to piss you off even more, probably, especially now that you've watched this movie first. I'm just like,
Probably. Yeah. There was the second end credit scene also bothered me just a little bit. And the scene itself didn't bother me. I thought it was kind of funny that we had like a nutty professor type of deal with Kang the Conqueror.
yeah.
But I just Marvel, I hate the fact that with Marvel now I have to watch
Everything.
an entire series, 2 seasons worth of a series to understand a single movie.
And they promised us that wouldn't be needed.
Yeah.
And now
it's like I want to watch Loki. I've heard Loki's good. I've
Loki's
heard
great.
WandaVision's good.
Great, fantastic. Love them both.
Not a lot of people have time to watch all of them. And if I'm being honest, like maybe a movie or two. Put it into a movie or two. Then I'm more inclined to watch. I know
we're
you
getting
can't.
series fatigue now.
I know. Yeah. If they're standalone, if it's like a standalone series, if Shang-Chi, for example, had been a standalone series and it didn't build up into anything bigger, that would have been okay.
Well, that's what Marvel's biting off more than they can chew. The thing is, we haven't even seen Shang-Chi since his movie.
No.
His actor's basically given up on a sequel, and it's just depressing. The only thing I've seen Shang-Chi in since is the Barbie movie, which he was awesome as Ken. Loved him. And just...
Shang-Chi was a great movie.
Great movie.
Perfect. That is how Marvel should be.
It felt like
movies.
old-fashioned. It felt like old-fashioned Marvel. It felt like Captain America.
Yeah, it
And
did.
okay, I will say that watching Captain America, there was a darn good reason why people weren't going to see other movies at the time, because they were delivering good stories.
Yeah.
Fabulous stories.
We had Iron Man, we had Captain America, we had Thor. The first Thor was awesome.
Yeah, it's
All
not
the others-
perfect, but honestly, I'd rather watch that today than most Marvel movies.
Yeah. The original 3. Those are the movies. The original 3 are in my top 3.
Like the big three's first movies. So
Yeah.
Thor, Captain
Thor,
America, and
Captain
Iron Man.
America, and Iron Man. Captain America is first, Iron Man second, Thor's third.
Yeah.
And it's pretty close between Iron Man and Thor.
And yeah.
But
So
now, like, the first Ant-Man movie was awesome.
so good. The
second-
humor was great.
The whole point of that movie was to take humor and then turn it into a little more serious while keeping the humor.
Yeah.
Same with Guardians of the Galaxy.
But Guardians of the
try to
Galaxy definitely tried. It made them, I don't know, it went too ham.
It did.
Shang-Chi didn't go too ham.
It was funny.
There
I
were a
loved
few. There were a
Trevor.
few funny scenes.
Trevor's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, there's a few funny scenes, but that's just because it's like, oh, they're bringing in that guy. Okay, but they knew when to be serious. They knew when to be good. It did, and it felt. And it was funny because there was a few scenes where I was like, oh, they're gonna make a joke here. Didn't, and then I go, and then when they make a certain joke, I'm like, that felt good.
Yeah.
She's just nervous. She's terrified, or he's nervous and terrified, or like the Trevor's like on the ground. He's like, hide, and like they go back and anyway.
Yeah. I will. There was one thing that I did like about Quantumania. One thing that I liked about this movie, and it was the portrayal of Janet's near panic attack at the beginning. The fact that Cassie says that she's been, or basically says, this is also where it gets too scripted for me, and I hated it. When they're pulled into the quantum realm, there's the whole thing where Cassie says, I'm sending signals down and I'm getting data back. And Janet almost has a panic attack. Like, straight up, you see her start to hyperventilate a little bit, starts to freak out. You see... You can almost, like, you can't actually see it, but you can almost see her eyes dilate. And that was really good because it showed how dangerous and how much she didn't want to be in the quantum realm. It showed that she was afraid of it.
Yeah, and
which we don't see much from her character before that. I mean, in the second Ant-Man movie, yeah, we see a little bit, but it's not to that same level. But then it just, everything happens right then. And it's like, as if on cue, the portal opens and sucks them in, and it's like, why didn't the portal activate earlier? Why did it activate right then when they're all in the freaking room?
Yeah, it just felt too... And maybe it was waiting for her.
I doubt it, though. I don't think so.
Because it sounds like they were listening or transcribing. It would have been better if they were like... I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would have been the way that it could have happened better. Here's my pitch for entering the quantum realm. Cassie gets sucked in. Hank sees, goes and tells Scott and Janet and Hope as they're maybe talking or having lunch or something. And then we get the whole, Janet's freaking out. We can't go. But we need you to come with, because you're the only one that knows that place. No, I'm not going. And she kind of storms off, and so they decide, okay, well, she's not going. We're gonna have to brave it ourselves. And then she ends up joining them because she doesn't want to get them killed.
Yeah, because it's like they're not married.
Mm-hmm.
Why does she, honestly, like, from looking from their perspective, this is just a guy who's dating our daughter's daughter. We don't know her too well. It's only been a couple years since the blip, which was so dumb that they were like, she's all activist talking about, which I get it, because Captain America and Winter Soldier do a great job of going off and
protect
really,
the little guy,
but also bringing up all these issues, like, because half the world disappears, all these homes are vacant. I'm going to move back in. All of a sudden you're sitting there one day and all of a sudden the family reappears and they're like, what are you doing in our house? You've been gone 5 years. We bought this house. We've been paying mortgages for it. You're technically deceased. And the thing is, like, the blip is non-existent anymore in the Marvel universe. No one cares.
I know. Why? I did like that they talked about it a little bit.
But it was a little bit.
It was a little bit.
And it just bugs me. That should have been, I don't know, because it should have been bigger issues.
They made a bigger deal about it in Spider-Man.
They did.
Which was great.
And it really sucks. It's like, hey, that guy's not 21. He should be, but he's not. Mentally, he's not. To him, he's only been alive for this long. You have to, like, the repercussions of this. Like, seriously. Tim, if I disappeared right now in a blip and I came back, we'd be a year apart. That's weird.
That is weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Our friend's younger sister, who's 10 years younger than me, we'd only be 5 years apart. We'd be the same. Zach would be the same age as me.
I'd be older than my wife if she blipped.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird thought. My brothers would all be older. About half of my siblings would be older than me if I blipped.
Only one of my sisters would be, but I would be 3 years closer. Basically, I would jump down and I would be now the second child. My sister would be only 2. It's just, she'd be a year older than me now. No, she'd be 2 years older than me. That's insane. And we don't talk about that. They just kind of were like, oh, well, that just happened. And it's like, does Shang-Chi take place after Endgame?
Yes.
And they don't even mention that. The whole thing, they're like, oh, we're just going to gloss over this. And it's like, this huge thing is happening. You really think the world would adjust back after the blip? Hey, we have this giant battle that happened here on Earth. Tony Stark died. Like, I just hate, it's kind of like my beef with, what movie did we talk about? Incredibles. They gloss over. And it's like, don't gloss. You build this world. I need to feel like a part of it.
Yeah.
Because what was cool about the first movies is they were separate, and then slowly they became into one, and it felt real, and you felt you were in the same universe in all the movies. It didn't feel too even though you're watching Captain America and the Winter Soldier movie, you know, you were like, oh, the other Avengers could swoop in at any moment. You felt like that could happen because you're seeing all these faces. But now it's like, I feel like it's just all turning into separate entities again, and it's not real. And we're just getting cameos. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It just doesn't feel as connected.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, and it's the issue that we're having right now with movies. Period.
Yeah.
World building is not a priority. They want to get fancy actors. They want to have their humor, and they want to make a lot of money. And the story comes second.
I would say the story is no longer the priority.
No.
And that's sad.
And the world is an afterthought. They get the story, and then they're like, okay, let's build a world around this. That's not how you do it. From a world building perspective, I'm going to put this back into Dungeons and Dragons terms because it's how I can.
This is a D&D podcast. Yes. Deal with it.
I spent hours, probably 30 or so hours, building a world before I even started a campaign. Before I told a story, before I told the story, before I introduced the world to my friends, I built the world first. I created it. The same thing with my writing books. I'm writing at the moment probably 6 or 7 books.
Dang.
Most of them are put on hold because I'm having writer's block with them all, and I'm just too lazy to write one of them. I'm just not motivated to write the one.
Brandon Sanderson, we need you to call Tim and get him motivated.
Yeah. Like I know what I want to do with it. I'm not motivated for it. Anyway, I build the world. I build the setting and how everything functions. The one story my favorite story that I've been writing, I built an entire mythology for that world. I built 3 separate magic systems for it that are all connected, each to a different deity. Each deity has a place. They have, to put it in Dungeons and Dragons terms, each of them has a portfolio, different domain that they have power over. And I took some inspiration from other separate sources, and I built the world, and then I began writing. Then I started going into my story and saying, okay, here's the main character. He lives in this town that already exists. His uncle is the emperor of this entire empire wherein they live. The palace is in this city that's already established. I built all of that before I told the story. That's not what Marvel's doing anymore.
No.
Quantum Realm, I feel like the Quantum Realm, like they got a bunch of guys and they're like,
draw us a bunch of silly characters.
We're gonna give you acid. We're going to give you drugs. I want you to make it now draw.
Honestly, I was honestly thinking they were just extras from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Like, these are characters we didn't want. Because it felt like a rip-off James Gunn movie. Yeah. It felt so... The
guy talking... Oh my gosh, the alien with the holes.
The holes. That was dumb.
That was stupid.
Which it was the Russian friend. Their Russian friend from the other 2 movies. That's the same actor. And it was like, why is he just not his... They don't even have anyone else from the other movies. It was just their... I think the idea of them being... So going back to how we would have done this. Beginning, I think the idea of her getting sucked in is fine. I feel like there could have been a big argument because she is trying to be her own thing. She's trying to, she's literally... fighting against a lot of stuff. It does because I can't imagine the political stances after this movie.
I was okay with the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. The first 10, 20 minutes was okay. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't perfect, but it was okay. It was doable.
And I'm sorry. I am so sorry, but People don't know who Ant-Man is. Are you serious?
I know that bothered me.
That's bullcrap. Everyone would know who he is.
Can you take a picture with my dog?
And it's
take a picture with me. No, can you take a picture with me? Can I get a selfie?
People would know who Ant-Man is. He literally made headlines before. He was one of the first Avengers to. He disappeared in the quantum realm. He literally is one of the reasons why it got brought back. Yeah. He's not dumb. He can change into a giant. There's probably footage of him fighting in the final fight, and then he tries to become a basic, simple dude and do his own thing and talk about growth. And I think that Hope literally trying to help with waste and food would be exactly what the Pym particles should have been used for. Absolutely. I wish we could have gotten a nod. It felt like they're treating him like he's lame, but he really wasn't, and he's well known.
Ant-Man, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna step on some toes. Ant-Man is not supposed to be a funny villain or a funny hero.
Well, yeah,
he's quirky, and he's quick-witted. He can say funny things. He does funny things, but he is a hero. And he is serious when he needs to be. All of those scenes, he gets the call from the jail, right? At the beginning of the movie. And his daughter is in jail. He goes from being funny, reading his book, like a switch. He is serious. He's put his dad face on. Why is my daughter in jail? What are you doing? And that's how it should have been the whole movie. But again, I'm gonna call this the Love and Thunder effect, because we had the Babylon AD effect. I'm gonna call this the Love and Thunder effect. It was too funny when it needed to be serious.
Yeah, no, I just imagine if hey, Mr. Scott, oh crap, what's Scott Lang? Mm-hmm. Random thing about Ant-Man. Sorry. He is not the original Ant-Man.
No.
It's Hank. Hank is in all of the original stories. Hank is technically, him and Tony Stark are the fathers of Ultron originally. Ultron is supposed to look like an ant. Uh-huh. His face. That's why he used to have two antennas. If you ever see any of the old pictures of Ant-Man from the comics, he has two antennas. Ultron is an ant, and he was made by Hank Pym. Mm-hmm. Hank Pym there are times where they go back in time and try to kill Hank Pym. They literally send Wolverine back to just do it because Ultron took over. It's so crazy like that. Scott, I'm okay with Scott being more silly. He was supposed to be Yellow Jacket funny. I believe he's supposed to be Yellow Jacket funny enough. But they had a Yellow Jacket. Actually, I don't know. Point being, I would love to see her literally going all anarchist, doing her own thing, fighting the power, trying to help tear people out. She's in the middle of an act and cops and SWAT or something is doing that. Hey, Scott pulls up and he's like, hey, what's going on? And you literally see someone punch his daughter and he turns into Giant Man. And he goes, everyone stop. I just needed more of that. Ant-Man to make a scene. Giant Man to make a scene. No! This is his daughter. And he's having a daddy moment. And she's embarrassed. I can do my own battles. I can do this. He goes, you can't just do this. Look what Hope's doing. Look what Hank's doing. Try to be like that. You can't just always fight everything. She's like, well, you did. And you're like, and I went to jail. I disappeared into the quantum realm. I didn't see you grow up. I don't even recognize you anymore. And that would have been a funny play to be a different actress. Mm-hmm. But
I missed 5 of your birthdays.
Yeah, 5 of your birthdays.
Imagine that. For just a second, any of you who have kids, right? I don't, so I can't empathize with you on the same level. But just imagine it this way: you have a 5-year-old kid.
They come back,
and you vanish. And the next time you see that kid, hear anything about that kid, interact in any way, shape, or form with that kid, they're 5 years older. They're
5 years is a lot. In the stages between, I would argue 16, from 5 years to
5 to 16. Those are the formative years.
Those 5 years, the person who I was at 10 to 5, different than who I was 5 to 10, and 10 to 15, and so forth. Like those are completely. I went on a 2-year LDS mission. My little sisters, my youngest little sisters, I came back and they were taller. They were different women. I can't imagine 5 years.
Yeah.
So for Scott to literally see his little girl and see her be a grown teenager, almost said a bad word there, but a grown teenager, because she was what, 9, 10? And,
something like that.
And she's now like,
and she's a teenager,
like a late teenager, and now this has been a couple years after. It's
she's
like
probably a young adult,
and that's probably why they changed, because the actress looked a little too old. Because she's like
maybe
11. I don't even think she's 11. She's like, she might have been even 9, 14. Yeah, they kind of picked a kind of an older actress for that, and it's been like a year and a half since then. So she's like on the cusp of being 16. That's like not super independent, but if Ariel can go to the surface world at 16, so can, and she can go to Quantumania. I don't care. But
yeah,
I just needed more tension. I needed a fight. I needed her to run down. I'll give her a reason, and she to be. And the thing is, I know this might sound super mean, but I wouldn't have minded her freaking losing another few years. Again, and he misses more because they keep fighting. And it's just, and it would have been a cool, not cool, but like, it just shows like, and it made her think for granted because now she's seeing the reverse effects. She's seeing it again because she freaked out and she went to the quantum world. They go back, and I would want the end of the movie to kind of possibly be a cliffhanger. I really was thinking it was going to be a cliffhanger.
I thought so too.
I did, because it was Kang the Conqueror.
Kind of was.
Not really.
Not
it was
really.
lame. It was like, is this the real world? Am I in the right dimension? I have a theory that some of our Marvel characters have ended up becoming on different universes because of the choices that they've made and because of the multiverse separating. Loki, whatever. I haven't watched the second season, but in my opinion, if Marvel were to do this right, I would literally have some of our actors not be on the same universes anymore. And that could give an excuse to hiring new people for certain actors.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that, especially now with Deadpool coming in, which is going to be hilarious? I'm definitely going to see that. But I just would love to, like, because what happens in Doctor Strange? I'm like, this could totally, and even the Marvels, what's happening there? We literally are going to, if they do this right, we can have like 5 different Marvel universes now. Shang-Chi could be on his own thing. And we all think it's one singular line, but it's just, because they've been messing with this ever since they went back in time with the Time Stone and all these things. And it's like, we could really have a big conundrum. So I think the point of this movie was just getting out of the quantum realm. And she doesn't have to age a few more years. And I think the big bad should have been MODOK, and he should have been 10 times worse. That's my opinion.
I agree. King the Conqueror. I think King the Conqueror could have.
He should have been the background.
Made an appearance.
He should have been the Darth Vader, just like at the end of. Because that game, because you see Darth Vader and you're like, oh, sweet, we're going to have a boss fight. No, you ain't. You're running away and you're trying to survive.
Yeah.
That's how it should have been with King. Where Cal Kestis is at the end of that game, you think, I've grown, I've become a man, I'm a Jedi now. You ain't a Jedi. You ain't nothing. This is Darth Vader. A man who, if he had all his limbs, could probably kill the Sith Lord. If he had all his proper limbs. That's my opinion.
I think,
because we all know that the Emperor did stuff to those limbs.
yes, actually, it is confirmed that Emperor Palpatine,
that son of a
made. There is a reason why Darth Vader does not use Force
He's in
lightning.
constant pain.
He is in constant pain, and his suit conducts electricity. That's why he never uses Force lightning.
He literally can't. I think it didn't.
If he
we
upgraded
could go on
his
this forever.
Suit, if I'm going to keep going for just a second.
Okay, fine.
If Darth Vader upgraded his suit, he would be the most powerful being in the Star Wars universe at that point in time.
That is what we're dealing with.
Yes.
And they were able to. This is like if Rey from the first movie. No, even, we'll do Luke. I don't want to crap on Rey because everyone does that enough.
Yeah.
If Luke from not Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, had beat Darth Vader miraculously at the end of the first movie, That would be, and Darth Vader falls down the hole. That would have been what this movie is. And everyone listening who hasn't seen the movie just went, ew.
Yeah.
That's what this movie.
Anticlimactic, terrible. It would have sucked. Yeah.
It would have been, because the thing is, it's like, is Darth Vader going to live? And he probably could have been introduced later and broken, but no. This should have been a lot like this video game that Tim was talking about. You literally face Darth Vader.
You beat the final boss. You kick her butt. You destroy her.
I died a lot, I'll be honest.
I didn't die once during the final boss. I died more on Dathomir fighting that Jedi dude than I did anywhere else.
Well, aren't you awesome?
I spent 2 hours fighting him, Willem. 2 hours.
Okay, I didn't have that much trouble with him. Different bosses are different with everyone.
My difficulty was at the second highest. So that's
highest.
why. That's
I
why.
like to kill myself. But the ending of just being an ultimate fear and running. Again, the hardest line from this movie, the most bad A line from this. I'm trying so hard. I'm being so good right now. Is just King looking at him going, have I killed you before? Like, just, he doesn't care.
It sets the theme of the movie, and then they don't stick to it.
He's literally an ant to him, an ant to be squished under his boot. Ant-Man, I was expecting a scene where he turns into Giant Man and goes to punch King, and King catches it and grows. Because King could do stuff, or at least just floats up, still holding the hand. It looks silly, but just imagine that.
And does the Hulk thing where
he doesn't even need to grow. He doesn't even need to grow, but he just sits there, it, floats up on his platform, gets in his chair, and then just throws him across the room.
Kang made such a big deal about I have to escape because they're coming. I've seen the end, and the other versions of me are going to destroy the universe unless I get out. He made a whole big deal about it. That's the whole reason he was doing what he was doing. Obviously, I feel like that wasn't everything. He probably at some point there was a lot of just wanting to conquer, and rule
and be the best
that there ever was. But then we didn't get that. We didn't we got that at the very beginning when we first see him and he's interrogating Scott Lang, he's interrogating Ant-Man, and then for the rest of the movie it's just he wants to get out. There's no reason for it anymore. He's been imprisoned and he wants to get out. And
it really did feel too much like Tron Legacy. You probably haven't seen that. Anyone out there who's seen it, it really is very similar to that movie. There is a evil in another world that wants to get out and wreak havoc outside. That is very similar to what this is. And I know y'all are probably like, why aren't y'all talking about other parts in the movie or whatever? We're kind of going back to the old roots. We're trying to get back to just giving you a pitch right off the bat and honestly, I do not want to talk about this movie.
I don't want to give this movie a pitch because it shouldn't exist. In my personal opinion, Janet would have stopped any of that from happening. She would have stopped Cassie from even starting to build the quantum realm.
Yeah, it really shouldn't. This movie was not needed, or at least it should have been done. I think the only thing that truly should have happened is that they think they've won, but King got out, and he's going to prepare, and a war of Kangs and secret wars are going to begin. There's going to be war of things, and we should see repercussions in the next movie. We should have seen him going throughout the other movies. We literally should have seen him become the new Stan Lee of cameos and just standing there watching, like Death in Puss in Boots. Just this figure of like, I am here, like an evil watcher.
All you even need to see in those cameos is his eye with the line down his,
which is one of the coolest looks ever. When he's just the blue, just when he was wearing the helmet and he's got his iconic blue face, he just, oh, so good. And Jonathan Majors just killed it and just beat that. Like honestly, I was cheering when he was beating the crap out of him because I'm like, this is what would happen to Kang. And I will admit that they did get a drop on him and it kind of worked. Mm-hmm. It wasn't but I was annoyed that his daughter just owned the suit. She just was able to use it and was able to become a giant.
Yeah, I think there could have been a little bit more.
Again, that's why I think she should have gone down first.
Yeah.
And it would have been like, okay, and they made a suit, they would have been practicing, and we could have gotten an admittance from Hank that he had made her a suit because they did. He knew that she was going to join him someday because she always wanted to. So he's like, I made her a suit. It was going to be for her 16th birthday, but we've been training it to surprise you, blah, 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 blah. Because she wanted to make a difference in the world. Things like that. Mm-hmm. And maybe she went down and it's been like a couple months. They can't get it back. They're trying to connect Janet to go down, and she literally pulls the whole, I don't know this girl as well as you think. I don't care. And like I know that might have been shallow for her to say, but literally she's been trapped for 30 years.
She missed all of the first Ant-Man movie, and she missed
her daughter's whole life.
She missed her daughter's whole life. I mean, that my counter to what you're saying is I think she would see Scott trying to have a relationship with his daughter and realize I missed my daughter's relationship, a relationship with my daughter for.
And that's what years. The thing is, that's exactly the point I was going to have Scott make. But the jadedness of her, just for a brief moment. Because, sometimes you get because the anxiety attack.
Yes.
That would have caused her to go, I don't know her. Why do I need to go back? I'm not going back. She's like flipping tables. She's about to break the thing because she's like, he cannot get out, grabs a hammer.
I think I would have liked to see her activate the Wasp suit.
Her own.
I would have liked her. I would like her to have her own Wasp suit. And I want Hank Pym to have his own Ant-Man suit.
I would have loved to seen
like an old version of
old. I would have loved to seen old versus new.
Yeah,
I would have loved to it to be the first conflict of the movie would have been Scott and Hope, which is funny. Scott and Hope versus the iconic original, and I would have laughed because I would have made it that they would have lost, even though they're old, because Scott's not as good with the ants as Hank is.
No.
And his suit, he probably would have made his suit help him get better. And Scott's I'm not trying to. It would have been cool if literally she goes to break a grab a hammer and break it. She's like, I don't care. It's worth the risk. I'm sorry. And goes, and Janet goes to grab her. And then.
You mean Hope?
Hope, yeah. So what did I say?
Names. A lot of them.
I would have loved to see mother go to break it, daughter stop arm, and then
me caveman, me hungry,
me hunt, me angry, me exhausted, me sick of snow in Utah, but also loving it.
Hate driving in it.
We need it.
We do.
A-okay. A for breathing, but B for breathing, but F for. Yeah, anyway. Yep. So, but I would have loved the first conflict to literally be old versus new.
That would have been a good.
And the thing is, Hank could have been training again because Janet's like, I kept myself going. Let's get you back into this, honey. Mm-hmm. You are Ant-Man, not him. And it would have been cool. You know what I would have done, though, is I would have had him, because kind of in the what if episodes, he has the yellow jacket suit. It would have been cool if his suit was the yellow jacket suit and he has the
arms,
the
shoulder cannon
and
thing.
Literally and it's kind of preempting us to oh, he finished the yellow, he made the better yellow jacket suit, or maybe his suit has the arms. He's like, I'll admit, I like what he did with the arms. And then that could have been funny when MODOK appears and he's more angry. I'll get to MODOK because I wouldn't mind him being that.
We'll talk about MODOK.
But I would have made it that fight would have been, and they would have lost. And they're sitting there on the top of the thing, they're on top of the sensor, and they're all small. And they're like, we need to go. I need to see my daughter again. What happened with you and your daughter? Do you want my daughter to face what you did down there? And, Janet starts crying.
I think I would have liked Janet to have broken it before they go in.
Oh.
And then they have to use the van.
Oh. They could have done that. That would have been done. That would have been well done too. Or,
I mean, the van's busted from.
I just think that there shouldn't have been that many worlds. There was like too many. There's like too much down there. Yes. Which made no sense to me. I'm like, wait a minute.
Here's another thing that bugged me about that, actually. How do you go smaller than the quantum realm? They're shrinking and growing in the quantum realm. How?
I think it's because here's the thing is that it's just literally you are bending reality at that point. And honestly, most of it could have been in his mind. The scene where Scott is trying to piece it back together and sees all the varieties of himself, that was kind of...
It was weird.
Much. I like the moral of it, but I literally would have it be we have old versus new sort of thing. I would love to see the original Ant-Man. It would have been cool to see them work together. It would have been cool to have everything. It would have been kind of an awkward moment to kind of be like, well, am I Ant-Man or am I not? So it would have been, I don't know.
Communism. We are Ant-Man.
We are Ant-Man. Well, it is a title because you have many, because in the Spider-Man video games, they're both Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You have Spider-Man and Spider-Man. That's it. I like that. Multiple Robins. All those sort of things. You have Robin, and then you grow to Nightwing, and maybe Miles is going to change his name to something else. I don't know. But I think that beginning, right then and there, the conflict would have been so cool. Just to have old Ant-Man versus young, who they've been training on the side just because they want to keep that formality, and these two have been out of it. They've been out of practice. Like, I would have loved if he's like, Hank, you're old. You can't. Bam! And he flings him across the room. And he goes, when's the last time you shrunk down, Scott? How long has it been? He like goes for it. I would love if they would have broken something. Like they both grow. I don't know. There could have been so many things. Just, I don't know, Tim. Mm-hmm. This movie was so weird. But I feel like that conflict in the beginning, them going down, Cassie had been trained, and it would have been...
I think I would have liked it because, okay, the whole point of introducing the quantum realm was the time travel thing.
Yeah.
Like that was the big thing they made, the big deal they made. I would have liked Cassie to have been down there for a couple of years.
How about like 6 months?
Maybe a few months. Few months.
Then what if they were like, so how are we going to make it so we don't end up, it's like a year? Because Scott's like, I was only in there for, to him, how long did it feel? It felt like...
It was like an hour, couple hours.
Like 15 minutes for him
maybe
or
15
something.
Minutes.
He's like, what? He's like, because it's so unpredictable. And that's okay. I'm okay with the quantum realm being so crazy. They were able to go through time.
Yeah.
With the help of the quantum realm. So what are they going to do to be like, so how do we make it that we don't end up...
I think they're suits.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole point of the suits, right? It was to help them travel through time.
And so we literally see them like get the Avengers type suit that we saw in Endgame. Like they kind of change a little bit.
I kind of think... I think that Hank probably would have upgraded the suits...
Yeah.
Already. He would have already done that.
He was like, and thanks to thanks to the beloved Mr. Stark, and since he used my technology once again without letting me know, because Starks and Pym have always had beef. Yeah. They have. It would have been funny if he's like, once again, the last Stark had to go around and take my thing. Well, good thing that Mrs. Stark, Pepper, let me have this technology, and we just made a deal. So fine, I get to have it. Pink. So, that sort of thing. Like, and made the world kind of go, aw. And it would have been, and then, Ant-Man could have been all kind of sad for a moment because he remembers being...
He was there.
He was there. He literally...
He watched Tony Stark die.
And the world. Anyway. So, I think going down, and I would think it would have been cool if Bill Murray could have been training Cassie, that sort of thing. I don't even know if I would have even had. I think she would have just been like surviving.
Yeah, I think she would have been practicing on her own so that she could survive.
But the thing would be how.
And maybe she would have been found by the survivors.
Maybe.
And they train her, maybe.
No hole alien. Get him out of the way.
Get rid of the holes. That was gross. Okay, they took time on this movie, right, for all of the CGI. Most of the movie is CGI.
It looks decent.
A lot of the CGI, this was probably the biggest issue I had with the movie. A lot of the CGI was so weird and unpolished, especially MODOK. MODOK, oh my gosh.
He looks so dumb.
Hated it.
You're right. He looked dumb, and we're not here to, and I know we can complain about that. We can gripe about that, of course, because we're watching this. But story-wise and character-wise, what did you not like about MODOK?
Everything. I thought it was cool.
The intro of him was pretty darn cool. The intro was cool. But then it just, once again, the second they confirm who he was, you're like, oh, we just died.
Darren would have been okay. It would have been cool that it was Darren. I think
Darren
was okay
originally is the original MODOK.
I think so.
He was the big head of AIM.
Yeah.
And AIM kind of died at the end of the first Ant-Man movie because Darren died.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm okay with all of that. I am okay with Darren being MODOK. I'm okay with MODOK existing. MODOK is a great villain. I love the idea of MODOK. And the way they do it in the comics and the way they do it in TV shows like Phineas and Ferb, for example, they do it well. Right? Even lighthearted as Phineas and Ferb is, MODOK is a good villain in that show. The fact that now CGI was terrible. I'm gonna keep complaining about it. He looked so stupid.
So stupid.
He looked like a child's drawing. No. Maybe not like that. He looked like AI had drawn him.
It looked like it was a movie from, it looked like it should have been CGI from Captain America's time, from 10 years ago.
Earlier than that.
And it was like,
late
what
90s.
Is happening? Like, his mask was cool. The mask was on point.
But his face was just gross.
It was stupid.
And his face was just stupid.
Hit was just stupid.
It really was.
They made it so comical that I'm like, are you kidding me?
And the interactions that he had with everybody just bothered me because he was trying to be funny but not funny, and it was just.
And his death was so dumb. I am not a dick. Oh, shut up.
His death was the most underwhelming, stupid death in all of Marvel history. And I will argue that point.
No, forever. It was the dumbest
death. It was so
death.
Stupid.
It was the dumbest death.
It was pointless. He didn't need. I wanted MODOK to have I want MODOK to have had a bigger part in Kang's defeat. Somehow. Here's how I would have done MODOK's death. I would have had Kang the Conqueror be like, at the end, portals open, and Ant-Man is the only one left. Kang shows up and is like, I'm gonna squish you like the ant you are. And then MODOK comes in and slams into Kang the Conqueror. After Kang can get one good punch in on Ant-Man, maybe he breaks Ant-Man's ribs and tons of damage, and he's like, that one punch almost killed me kind of thing. And then MODOK can come in and say, Scott, get the heck home. Get home. Be with Cassie. I've got this. And MODOK can be the one that fights
takes
Kang,
the beating.
takes the beating, gets
I wouldn't
absolutely
have even
wrecked.
shown the beating. I would have shown them back at home, and then when it comes back, we see
MODOK's helmet off to the side, and that's it.
And it's just very vague. We might see like a few blood stains, but we just know that it was not good. I could do that, or I was thinking of MODOK actually returning home somehow, and literally like limps to AIM, like crawls on like tentacles, causing a scene, and gets to the AIM headquarters and is like, I am restarting this will become, because AIM is supposed to be something sinister in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
But I think for the MCU, it would have been better.
For what we have already established and everything, I would have had it be Kang kills MODOK.
Mm-hmm.
I would have had MODOK be a bigger villain throughout the entire thing. And the big fight between MODOK and Cassie, I think it's cool. I think it was good.
I think him learning that Kang was just going to destroy his home timeline and never return him and never fix him. He always promised he'd fix him after he returned home. Like, you get me out of here, I'll return you home and repair you. Yeah. When it turns out that was a bold-faced lie, that's when he goes, all these things I've killed, I've become your killing machine. The thing is, here's what I want in the final fight is, I love that line, and I had a similar line too. He's like, I will squish you like the ant you are. Like, just, we could maybe have, I think the ants coming in could have been cool.
I think it would have been okay if we would have had Hank
and
if we had Janet,
if we had two teams, if we had both teams doing that, and Hank he's like, I've been waiting this whole time, and a few ants fell, and I've been listening, and this, and you see him just come up. It would have been cool if at one point there is a moment where they're fighting MODOK, and we have all 5 of them doing it. Cassie's trying her own thing. It would have been cool if she got a few practices in.
Well, here's the thing that bothered me, and I don't know why it bothered me so much. The fight, right, when they're escaping, in the middle of the movie, when Cassie and Scott are escaping and they're fighting the people, and Scott's like, you have a suit, I know, blah blah blah, it's grow and punch. He's giving her direction. I would have liked to see her follow up on that direction, because it didn't happen. I was expecting it to happen.
I think she said a few grow in the punch lines at the end. She was like, grow, punch. She was like doing it. She was doing it when she broke the awesome lady who I think she should have trained her.
That's what I was thinking.
And Bill Murray should have been like the leader of it, and then maybe flipped on him, selling them out to MODOK. Because they never, and I don't know, that's what I would have done, is him sell out to MODOK. I would have had MODOK be the main thing, and literally Kang is in the background, and he comes down. They defeat MODOK, and he's like, enough, and like it echoes. Everyone freezes, wipes out the ants. Turns out he's got another army waiting. He's like, you do not know what I've done. You think ants could stop me? And then he's just a genius, and he's like, you say, because they were like, what, God, like they evolved for what, 1,000 years? What, it was just like millennias. And he's like, these ants are nothing to me. I have seen them, and they are nothing. And he like does something, and they just start just de-evolution, just something just to show like how crazy he is. Nothing to me. They are ants. And maybe they get to the portal then. There's so much going on, but just I would want like the final fight to be in front of the portal. The final fight with MODOK to be in front of the portal. They have it open. There's a way to get home, and that's when Kang, like, we hear thudding throughout the entire quantum realm, and it's just Kang walking down like a god, because he was a god of this realm.
Not even on anything, walking down steps made of air.
Yeah, just his little blue boom, 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 boom. Like, he makes the 10 Rings look dumb, which they never answered who this. Because many people think that. Anyway, sorry. There's so many questions because the people were hinting that the 10 rings were part of Kang, but they weren't. And because it was sending a beacon to the quantum realm or throughout the multiverse. Squishing the microphone right now because I'm so angry. But anyway, I would have had. Okay, how about we backtrack really quick? Let's just backtrack. I know everyone's like, look, these are the episodes y'all crave. And we're almost at an hour and a half. So I want to kind of really hammer down what we've talked about. So we have the beginning. Cassie disappears. They have a fight. They go down. Would we want them to stay? When they go back down, they travel Avengers style down to the quantum realm. Would the four of them stay together?
No.
I vote yes. You vote no?
I would have
or
them
split.
I would have them stay together until a little bit later.
And I would make it Ant-Man, Wasp.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
We're awesome.
And I would have it I would have it be the Ant-Men are going to go get Cassie. The Wasps are going to go
get the portal. Which Janet. Dang it.
Janet knows where it is
and knows
all of it.
So are we going to say that? So are we going to kind of keep it similar that she knows that Kang is trapped? Yeah. And the whole chair thing. So we're going to keep that kind of.
I'd keep the basic premise of it. I would just swap a few things out.
Okay.
But yeah, I would want suits to still be a thing. I would want Janet and Hope to go together. I would love to have them have a mother-daughter moment. A big mother-daughter
I really
moment.
was hoping for more mother-daughter moments, but we didn't get any.
I wanted at least one really big one that showed both of them, that made both of them change the way they thought.
And I would have wanted to see Hank show him, like, you really aren't that good of an ant. Like, I don't want to say that he's not, but he really hasn't been that practice of an Ant-Man.
You put down your suit for too long. You don't use it as often.
You've had many times where you've been on hiatus. You are not like the Ant-Man you could be. You could be out with the Avengers. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's making the point, like, my wife is back and I've been invigorated to do this again. I've made a suit that makes me feel young again, Scott. I kicked your butt before.
Except he didn't use the word butt.
He didn't. I really would make it show that Scott really wasn't that. I wanted to make it show that Scott really was taking this for granted.
Yeah. I'm going to throw it back to D&D, right? Hank Pym is probably like level 15, 16. Scott, probably level 10.
I would argue that Hank, when Hope vanished, I would say 18, 19. He was that awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
At least in this story, I would make him like he was at the pinnacle of it.
He was at his, he was really good, and he needed Scott. I do think that now that, it's been several years and Hank hasn't been needing to use the suit very much anymore, I'd say he's kind of lost his touch just a bit. But he's still, like, a lot of the muscle memory is still there. And I feel like there should still be that sense of he knows what he's doing. He made the suit. He is the suit. The suit is an extension, a part of him. Just like the Iron Man suit, right? Tony Stark became the suit. It became part of him, who he was. And he lived in the suit, in a sense.
Yeah,
Scott's not that way.
Scott is, and now that he literally has hope again. I mean, not hope. Gosh dang it. He has, since both Hank has purpose again. He recovered a relationship with his daughter in the first and second movie. He had his wife again. They came back, and he had the realization of, I can do this again. I know I'm old, but the technology they have, the Iron Man suits available, maybe that was the trade deal that they did, and he literally made like an exoskeleton suit kind of thing that made him younger. Him and Hope can still, him and Janet, gosh dang it, I'm sorry, folks. You're going to just get upset with me in this episode. But I really wanted to see Ant-Man and the Wasp would have been for both sets. It would have been so cool to have both. Like, it was right there, and it would have been so well done. They have technology in this universe, in this movie franchise, to make them do that. And you could have put a mask on and just have have stunt doubles do it. I don't care. Make them do voiceover Power Ranger style. It's fine. No, if they would have done it well, no one would have complained. I wouldn't have. And it would have been cool to have Scott have a mentor saying it. Like, literally giving him hints. Like, him saying, like, and him, like, reprimanding him, like, remember, duck and punch. And then later in the movie, we see him kind of teaching his daughter. Because she probably didn't have the suit for that long. And she's been literally trying to survive. And she thinks her dad abandoned her. And when they finally arrive, it's been, like, a couple months to, like, a year for her. Because they probably had to train or get ready and rebuild it. Took them, like, a couple weeks. So it's like... You know, it's a roll of the dice. It's lottery here. You never know when you never know what you're gonna get. Like, it's just how it is with the quantum realm, the chocolate realm,
the chocolate realm. Yes.
So I really would have wanted the party to split up.
I would have
boys
liked,
and girls.
I would have liked a little bit later for there to be a switch in the parties. I would have liked to have Janet go with Scott at some point.
Oh.
So that they can get to know each other a bit better. And so that she can give him pointers on things that she's learned being the Wasp that Hank hasn't figured out being Ant-Man.
It would have been cool. I would have loved to see the dynamic. Maybe that could have been the final. Maybe she helps him rescue his daughter, and she regrets, and she even apologizes to her. Like, I know that, you know, and it could have been, maybe that could have been a funny little humor thing, just briefly. Like, I'm sorry for thinking of just leaving you here. And you were going to leave me here? Like, kind of humor, but also like, what the butt? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I like that idea. And then at the end, they all come back together.
At the very end, I would have liked it to be the couples.
And they split off and fight their own separate ways.
Their own thing. And Scott and Hope, the final thing, I would have liked Hope to come in and save Scott. Maybe come in. She does the sneak attack, you know. Maybe Kang has punched MODOK and disabled a bunch of his stuff, and he's kind of sitting there on the floor, kind of trying to get himself back up, but he can't. Turtle style, maybe.
Yeah.
Something funny.
Briefly.
And she goes in and she just punches Kang out the window. Before he squishes Ant-Man, like the ant, and she grabs him and flies him through the portal, and then maybe she turns to MODOK and says, do you want to come with? And he's like, no, you get out. I've got him.
I have an idea.
And fly back through the window, and MODOK gets between the three of them, and yeah.
So maybe, so they open up the portal. Which party would open it? What of the pairs would open up the portal?
I would have Hank and Janet open it and go through first with Cassie. And have them usher Cassie through. Maybe Cassie's broke her arm or something.
Here's what I'm thinking. So I think that's a good idea. Like, they've get my daughter out of here. We need to take care of MODOK or something. Like, there's something going on. There's something more. And maybe Janet keeps saying, there's something. Maybe Janet broke her arm. Something. One of them is broken. One of them is broken. Yeah. Or maybe Hank's suit is, MODOK ripped the spine out of the suit. And he's now just Hank Pym. And he's like losing it. And the suit's not protecting him, or whatever, things like that. So here's what I'm thinking: the final fight, because I want your line of Hank, like, and they've been talking about this Conqueror for the past bit, and now we're finally getting him. He's just been the big bad. He's not really in the movie. I would have been okay with that. Just fine. Kang should not have been the main antagonist. MODOK should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm thinking about the ending is, Ant-Man, Scott Lang, or are you Hank Pym? Like, just like all these, like, saying all these things. He's like, and he's like naming, and he's like giving off all these names.
Or are you Steve Rogers?
Or are you
a bunch of names?
Like, just all these names. Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, which one are you? And like naming all these things.
Which Ant-Man are
Which
you?
Ant-Man are you?
Which ant are you?
Yeah, which ant? And then he's like, and it doesn't matter. I'll squish you like an ant. And then, Scott starts laughing and gets huge. And he goes, I'll squish you. And like just does something lame like that. But it would have been great. Like, gets huge and just maybe he doesn't even say anything, just gets big and puts his foot down. And he goes, let's see who squished who. And we see him get shot off. And I would have loved if he broke a rib while he was Giant Man. Because that would be the only time where I would maybe think that he could take a punch from him and live.
Yeah.
Literally, like, and we hear the crack like a thing of lightning.
And we see across. almost like how they do in anime, right, where the screen goes black and we see the lightning and we can see like an outline of his.
I would have died. That would have been awesome. And he immediately shrinks down, and he's looking down at him, floating. Like, he shrinks down, and he's just gasping. Suit is failing because of how bad he got punched.
So one note on the suit: the Ant-Man suit is supposed to act like an ant's exoskeleton. So it's supposed to be a suit of armor.
Yeah.
It's supposed to protect you. And Kang the Conqueror
just
punched him once.
And the thing is,
wrecked him.
And I would have loved them to like incorporate a little bit of we have Iron Man suits type style. Hank is smart, and also Stark owes it to him to like own this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And they should have just been all like, had better armor. When the final fight came, they should have put on maybe buffer armor, and Cassie's like, dang it, I wanted a cool mega suit. Yeah. And it would have been cool.
Or maybe Cassie is the only one that has a fancier suit because it's the newer.
That's true. So anything like, but just to show how I would have really made it that the interaction would have been so brief. We see Kang for 10 minutes, not even that. Like, and I know that might have been lame, but anyway, so what I would have done is, let's say the older Ant-Man and Wasp are leaving. Cassie goes, no, and like, you guys go. I need to go help them. Cassie, don't. And, Janet gives her a chance. She's like, you hurry, get them. And she goes, don't worry, I've been practicing this. And she starts running and then gets bigger. And when she sees that her dad breaking and she hears the crack while running, or maybe we don't even see her running, because I want her to be the thing that grabs Hope in him and runs, and she starts sprinting, and Kang is just don't following or something. Or maybe they're fighting right outside the portal,
Yeah.
And I just want Cassie to be the one to literally pick her father and Hope up. And I would honestly want Hope to like probably, she comes in flying and he just smacks her. Like, and just terrifying, because that's even worse. But he doesn't even give it. He just doesn't even care. Like, she's looking and just goes, and she just lives. And he's like, that was a mercy. Like, you're lucky. And I would have want Cassie to take them away, and then as he's coming in, tackles from MODOK, or even just this thing comes wrapping around him, and he's like, go! And he's like, you lied to me! And then, like, because it was revealed, while he's in the turtle formation, we're all kind of laughing as an audience, but he goes, look at you, pathetic. Literally, your huge head is your ego. Did you really think I would save your universe? You're nothing, MODOK, and just walks away. And then realizes he's been played, takes the revenge. They get through the tunnel, and it closes. No, that sort of thing. So I like that would have been a far better thing than this. And the thing
I would have wanted the multiversal core, star core thingy, travel core to be busted at this point. right? So there, it seems like they'll never get out anymore, but it also like Kang the Conqueror built it in the first place, so he's smart. He probably built
No,
another one.
I would have done the whole the mid-credit scene is we see a bloody trail. We see like an arm or like the main mechanism of MODOK, and he's stabbing it into the machine. He's working, and he starts cackling as this blue light forms, and a tiny sliver of it just opens, and he goes, I can work with this, and shove his hand in, and that's the end of the movie. Literally,
Yeah,
just we see him go, shoves his hand in, and he goes, I can work with this. Or he shoves both hands in and just
and starts to open it like a
tearing it,
door.
and you're just like, oh no. And that would have been the end.
Yeah,
Just him just tearing it, and that would have been the end.
yeah,
They were so terrified of dying that they had to leave, or they all would have died. And because of this simple mistake, because they just wanted to survive, they allowed Kang to get free. That should have been the end. Maybe he was in it a few more times, but the idea, like I can already just imagine just the bass and the music and the theater just growing as you hear, and you just see the portal opening, and then it just goes black, and then he says Kang will return, and you're like, ah! So
that would be cool.
and then we can like have this. I would have made the post-credit scene after that, the end credit scene, to literally be all the Avengers currently in different movies. Like we have all the characters walking, even Spider-Man are just walking, and it's like 24 different little screens throughout the theater, and we hear a crack, and we see just a line go for a brief second. They all look up, and it closes, and they all go, what was that? And then that's just the end credit. Just something is happening.
I would have done something different. I would have had how the beginning of the Marvel, like their introduction is, there's the theme song, and we hear, we see images of all of the different movies.
What would you have done?
I would have done something similar, but all of the climaxes to all of the other movies prior, just briefly, but with Kang sitting there in the background, staring at the camera.
Or
the camera, not at the fight, at the camera.
Oh my gosh. Or literally it just shows like, oh my gosh, yeah, he just staring. Oh my gosh, imagine if he's opening up the thing and he looks at the camera and then says, I'll work with this, and then goes, like breaks the fourth wall for a second. We're all like, titties, like something like that.
Okay, so Marvel on the superpowers list, the official Marvel superpower list, breaking the fourth wall is a superpower.
Yeah.
Obviously, Deadpool has that power, right? It would be awesome if we saw a supervillain have that power.
Yeah. And maybe he does it. Actually, I like I think that your idea is way better.
Yeah, just subtly. I think he has that power, and it's subtle. Kind of subtle, because he's staring at the camera, and you just... I feel like with that, you would just get like this eerie feeling of that traditional feeling of feeling like you're being watched.
He's the opposite of the Watcher.
Yeah.
You need to watch What If. Have you watched What If yet?
I haven't.
I need to watch the new Christmas ones they did. And the season 2 is going to come out like next month, I believe. So I got to catch up. But what if they didn't do the Marvel intro at the beginning of this movie? And they did it like when he says, I can work with this, then the Marvel thing starts rolling, and it's just all these different scenes of Kang, but slowly it fades to him just like, and it's flipping, and it shows it like turning, and like I don't know if you saw the Pennywise like commercial for It, but the flip book is like, and it shows Pennywise slowly look at the camera, maybe something like that, but I really like I think your idea honestly is the best one. It just cuts back to all these Avengers scenes and we just see Kang just watching. Maybe he could be watching in the TVA. You don't know what that is. It's from Loki.
Oh, I know what the TVA is.
So maybe he could just be sitting there just watching.
We'd see two of the TVA agents. Officer people,
because he's supposed to watch Loki. Loki.
I know a little bit.
Okay.
I know a little bit.
But I really like the idea that he's literally now just observing everything like he's supposed to be, because he's supposed to become the head of the TVA. So it would be cool for us to go, what's happening? But Marvel is not going to do anything like that. Marvel doesn't know what they're doing at the moment, and Marvel bit off more they can chew by taking on the multiverse.
I'm not going to lie. Stan Lee died and everything went downhill.
Yeah, I saw him in the cameo in Captain America, and I was like, he would hate it nowadays.
Yeah, he would be appalled at the garbage that's coming out. We got Thor: Dark World, and
I would rather watch Thor: Dark World than this.
I'm not gonna lie. Everybody hates on Dark World. It wasn't that bad.
No, but it wasn't
compared to what we have now. It was a pretty good movie. It's a solid B tier for me.
I would put the same tier as The Last Witch Hunter.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe we can talk about that movie someday and talk about a few changes we wish would have happened. But honestly, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the idea of Ant-Man and the Wasps. Ant-Mans and the Wasps. So
I think the title should be Ant-Man and the Wasps.
Ant-Man and the Wasps. That would have been cool. That would have been I think the idea of them working together, splitting the party different ways, interacting, learning to be a team, that would have been cool to have like his own little ant family, like the Bat family. That would have been cool.
I'm imagining now, like with the title of the movie, right? It shows up Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and we see a few ants crawl in and bump out the A in man, and a couple more ants slide in an E.
That could have been the ending.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
And the Wasp and a bunch of ants push.
A bunch of wasps bring up S.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been. I would have kept it ants, I think.
Okay,
just because it's a little more.
They can't control.
Yeah,
it would have been the flying ants,
more
though.
Iconic. Yes, flying ants.
So Anthony.
But
that, I think that itself. I know that this was kind of a rough and tumble kind of one. We didn't make but again, we don't always just make a straight up pitch. We just talk about things we would have changed.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want to make a pitch because this movie shouldn't have existed.
I think that
the whole thing with this movie is the fact that Janet didn't say anything. That's the whole reason this movie exists. She would not have kept it all to herself.
See, I'm glad we talked about it though, because I would have loved this movie to be the gateway for King to be free. That would have been if they would have done it this way, but they didn't. They made it seem like it was just an accident and King still might be free. He might be free, but it would have been cool if literally he just kickstarts it like an engine, because they just opened a portal. It might be broken. They might have broken it, and he gets it, and he's like, and because he doesn't care. He's got time. He doesn't matter. He doesn't age. We don't know what's wrong with him, but it seems like he just doesn't age. But he just doesn't like feeling trapped, and they gave him the key. They gave him a means, and I literally would have. I know that might have been a little gory, but to see MODOK's body. Not really see his body, but just to be like, oh, he gone. And just to see him get out, or at least hint at it, that would have been a great ending. It's like at the ending of the first X-Men movie, and Magneto slowly moves a piece after the end of the movie. Oh, wait, no, sorry. That was the end of X-Men 3, because Magneto loses his powers because of a serum. But at the end of the movie, we see him pushing metal briefly. And you're like, oh, what if? So that would have been cool. So I think I'm glad we talked about the pitch. If it was to show, the only good thing that came from this movie is that, well, now we don't know because of the firing. And honestly, I don't know what Marvel's doing. But I like the way we did our pitch. No one knows what Marvel's doing. But I think that if this would have been more orientated of mentor and mentees, of father and daughters, of or children and their parents and mentors and just an idea of accepting guidance and learning to see each other's perspective. That would have been the main point of this movie, family-wise, and then them coming together to fight MODOK, to be their own little team, because we don't really see that a lot anymore in Avengers, in Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And then for just to have this little big bad always kind of watching, it would have been cool. And then for him to step in and literally make everyone go, I am so mad they even fought him. They should not have survived.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made them that many survivors. Honestly, it would have been really bad, because it would have shown that the rest of the survivors would have been dead. I'm sorry. That's just what would have happened.
I agree. I fully expected every single one of the survivors to have died.
It just wipe them out, because they accidentally fell in the quantum realm or whatever, because we don't know what they really are. Or he doesn't care. And maybe it just leaves it open-ended. Maybe someday we'll visit the quantum world and they'll be happy. Maybe the last credit scene could just showing the people of the quantum world that they're like, he's gone, and they're happy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have
or maybe
theory.
really quick, before he disappears and opens the realm, maybe he hears all of them cheering, and they're happy that they've won, and he's like, doesn't matter that you've won today, and he opens up the portal and then leaves.
So I have a theory. When in the movie, right, Kang the Conqueror gets sucked into the hyperdrive wormhole core thing.
Yeah.
I have a theory that just teleported him to a different multiverse.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Oh, I don't think he's dead.
And no, there's no way. He didn't do anything in this movie. Except
be menacing.
Beat the crap out of
We did it.
Scott Lang.
We just did it better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe him being sucked into a different dimension would have been okay. Maybe the MODOK thing, he kills MODOK, and MODOK is like, with his final breath, is like, goodbye. And with like a tentacle thingy, because generally he has like a bunch of arms. Metallic tentacle arm thingies. With one of them, he like breaks open the hyperdrive core, and it sucks Kang into it. And then one of the after credit scenes could be
the hands opening Kang, a portal.
Well, no, I'm thinking the Council of Kangs.
Oh.
And then in the same, just in reverse, how he was sucked into it, in reverse, he's thrown out of it right out in front of them, and he's like, it's good to be back.
That would have been cool. I could do it with that one too. Mm-hmm. I think there's so many things that could have done.
There's a bunch of ways that it could have happened.
I think
it just didn't.
I don't want anyone to get the upper hand on Kang. That's what I would want to show in this movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I do like that. I think that would have been better than what we got.
I think it would have been maybe Kang wasn't paying as much attention to MODOK.
And that could be it. That could be it too. I vote Willem's side. I want Kang to be like, they are not ready. No one's ready right now to face him. And that's why I'm like, don't really want this to be a good ending or a bad ending.
I mean, it could have been like Infinity War where the bad guy wins.
Yeah. And he gets out and he traps them again. But I don't want them to be trapped again. And the thing is, I don't even want to see... And we could have the ending, everyone's all happy, rejoicing, but then maybe maybe that's the after credit scene, that's when Scott kind of has like a mental break. And Janet feels it too. Like they look at each other like they're both just terrified, like... Maybe they're at the hospital and he's got the broken rib, and there's just so many things they should not have done. Kang, I don't know. This movie was a letdown. We've talked about a few things we wish we would have changed. I just would want at the end for the audience to be terrified of his presence. They kind of hit it in this movie, but I was so overwhelmed with silliness and lameness that it's not worth me watching it again.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I would rather watch Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh wow, Tim, I am gonna say it. I think I'd rather watch that one movie that wouldn't be named. I know.
Oh,
that is
really?
honestly, yeah, where I am at right now with this movie. I think I'd rather watch that.
Oh,
And
I
that's
just
saying
wish
something.
both movies didn't exist.
I know, and I'm fine, but I'm saying if I had to choose this one, I think I'd rather watch Babylon AD than this.
I'll take that, actually. Yeah.
Because Babylon AD made me at least like feel something. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Made me feel annoyed.
Yeah. 20 minutes before the movie ended, it.
Oh, the movie just started.
But, you know, at least there was something that. Oh, yeah.
Well, everybody, I think I'm pretty happy with tonight.
Yeah, me too.
This has turned out to be a long episode, but honestly, when it comes to a Marvel movie, episode's gonna get long.
Yep.
This is the kind of stuff that started us, and you know, and this movie came out before this podcast started, but gosh darn it, did this movie confirm me making this podcast. I left this theater going, yep, making this podcast, it's happening, and I'm glad that it's one of the first things we talked about this year. So
yeah, I don't have any other words about this movie. It was hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
Well, all right. With that, everyone, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. We hope to see you again. Again, hit us up one day. The first person to let us know a movie they want, you're going to be on the podcast. And with that being said, we will see you later, pitches.